All right, so welcome to the introduction to 90.io. This is specific for the three companies: American Reclamation Company, known as ARC, Ultra Soap International, or Liquid Soap Products. I'm going to walk you through and give you a quick tutorial on how to use this system. In the top left corner, you're going to see the company name. In this case, right now, I'm on American Reclamation Company. If you click on that, you can see Liquid Soap or Ultra Soap International. You may or may not see any other company than the one company that you work within. And if you're somebody that has access to multiple companies, then that's okay too. You just need to click between the company in order to be in the correct platform at any given time. So at the bottom left here, you'll see your name. You can click on that, log out, go to any other like user settings. I encourage you to go to user settings, put in some of your information. Put in a biography, street address, all the information that you can about yourself. Metrics, this stuff will come out, and then through some other exercises and some other training and development things that we're going to give to you over the course of time. Contact information, again, primary email address, phone numbers, those sort of things, and then any social things that you want to put in there. Moving back to the left-hand toolbar, you'll see this little collapse feature. You can click that and it'll collapse it and just give you little widgets, or you can uncollapse it and you can see what those widgets pertain to, if you will. So at the top, My 90, I'm going to stay in American Reclamation Company for a minute. There is going to be a filter bar up here in the black bar. In Liquid Soap Products, you'll see a blue bar, and Ultra Soap, you'll probably see an orange bar. But in here, you'll see the teams. So the teams in which you're involved in Ultra Soap or Liquid Soap, I'll tell you, there's going to be two teams: operations or sales and marketing, right? So depending on which one you fall in, you might fall in multiple. Again, make sure you're on the correct team. From here, I can collect any team that I want to. It doesn't really matter, or toggle on to any team that I want to. It doesn't really matter. This, and then what it'll show you. So if I click into marketing team, I'll see that this is a specific team to do in order for that marketing team. But if I'm at all, which I'm going to stay on, this My 90, again in the left-hand toolbar, this My 90 dashboard is your personal dashboard. So the first column here is team to-dos. Team to-dos are anything that is assigned to you as a to-do, and that to-do is part of a team. So if you're on the operations team or the sales team, that to do or that task is assigned to you. However, it's within the operations or the sales and marketing team. Okay. And then you have your private to-dos. Nobody can see them but yourself, right? And then your rocks and milestones. I'll walk through here, all that, and what it looks like here in just a little bit. The bottom of this is scorecard data. So this is going to be any scorecard metric or KPI, key performance indicator, that we assign to you in the company. This will then allow you to toggle into the period interval, right? If you want to go weekly, monthly, quarterly, or annually, you'll get rid of trailing 4 and 13 weeks. I'll talk about that in a different training session. And then I can change the default to the number of weeks. If I just want to see 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you'll see what that looks like. I'm going to jump over to Ultra Soap International so you get an idea of what that looks like. As this continues to load here, one of the things I will say is that it's extremely important that you use the dashboard on a daily basis so that you can put the information in that you desire or that you need to pay attention to. So I'm going to pick on monthly here just because we're updating some numbers and some scorecards. Once I click on monthly, these scorecard features are the ones that I am directly responsible for. Again, My 90 is my dashboard, okay? You're not going to see all the metrics in the scorecard if the metric's not assigned to you, okay? So I'm going to click back over to American Reclamation Company just for ease of training, and I'm going to keep walking down this. So that's the My 90 dashboard. If you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to your leader. They'll be able to point you in the right directions. The next is the scorecard. The scorecard is filtered by team. So I can look at executive team, finance team, operations, systems, or equipment. In this example right now, there's no metrics in here. We're just now building this out. But again, this is where you would assign a team member a KPI. So let's go pick on Ultra Soap again for a minute. And when you look at scorecard, I can go here to operations, and you can see in this example, Terry Jones, who's the operations manager for Ultra Soap International at Clary, is assigned to certain KPIs. He can also look at it on a weekly, monthly, as I mentioned, quarterly or annual basis, right? And so now you can start to see when you need to fill these things out. If you need to fill these things out, you simply just toggle your cursor into the field, and you'll see what the goal is for the week. In this instance, we need 5,440 units of product that come off of bucket line 1. You might put in 5,000 and it'll show up red. Why? Because it's a trailing number, right? If it was a leading number or a positive number and I put 6,000 in there, you'll see that that turns to green. I also have the opportunity to edit and create a custom goal. So if I want to create a custom goal of 7,500, right? And I want to just put in here any notes. The note might be, we increase volume capacity on this line, or we increase the number of prospecting calls if it's a sales metric or whatnot, but you can just put in a note and you can hit save. And so from there, I'll be able to look here and see, oh, the goal is 7,500 and it turned to red. Now, if I change that number, knowing that the goal is 7,500 and I went to 8,000, it turns green again because the goal was customized. So hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions about that, let me know. The next thing that we'll run into as I go back to American Reclamation Company is rocks. Rocks are, in our world, EOS world, we eat an elephant every year, 4 bites in 1 year. What I mean by that is we work in 90-day sprints, basically. And so 90 days is the time frame in which a rock needs to be identified and then achieved. Rocks are typically smart in the way that they're specific, they're measurable, they're achievable, they're realistic, and there's a time stamp on them. So I'd encourage you to go to your rock section. Anything that's assigned to you will be here. To-dos. To-dos, again, let me go to the all. So to-dos are anything that can be done within a 7-day window or less than the window in which it takes to achieve a rock. So again, rocks are 90 days. To-dos are anything that it might take me a week. Typically it's 7 days. If not, then it could be 14 days or 21 days, but it's typically not any more than a couple weeks, okay? If it's not, it stays on the issues list, and I'll get to that in a second. And then you assign to-dos out of the issues list. The next part of this will be issues. Let me back up for a second. To-dos. So you see the little title here. You can click here when it's confirmed or done, and it puts a strike through it. And you can also click on it and you can put in information as you choose to do right here. You can change the due date. You can put in don't repeat. You can make this a private to do. You can change the team that you want to, and you can add any attachments that you choose to do. You can also change the actual to-do owner. So I can click here and assign it to multiple different people if I choose to do so, right? And so that'll show up on their platform, on their My90 dashboard as well. And then the other thing that you might want to do is if you're both working on a to-do together, you might want to add a comment in here and just, for example, if I was working with Doug, please take a look at the newest note or the latest note or whatever it is, right? And then I comment on that. So it's a great way for you guys to work in the same platform, especially if you have to-dos or tasks that are shared. Issues. So issues list is everything that is an issue that needs to be discussed and solved. This is typically the landing spot for everything inside the business that needs to be discussed in one of your meetings. The issue is throughout the process of the L10 meetings, which I'll get to in a second, is discussed inside that meeting, discussed amongst the team, and then typically solves come out of that. So if I'm in Matt Pack 50 count pouches for a second, right? I can prioritize this and say, this is my number one issue. It shows up there on my list, right? From here, I can click the little ellipse or whatever they call these little three dots here, and I can create a to-do from this. I can create a rock from this. I can make it a long-term issue. I can create a headline. I can send it to another team, right? I can merge into another issue. There's a lot of things that I can do here so that I make sure that I'm using the platform so the way it's designed. I encourage you to use the platform and do your best to learn it just by using it, right? The next thing I'll run into is meetings. So meetings, if you're in a department, so operations, sales and marketing, say you're in the finance department or you're in the executive team or you're in an Acumatica team, or there's many other teams that can be out there, and we can build those teams as we go on. This is where you'll hold every meeting. So when you start a meeting, you literally begin the meeting here, and then there's a framework to the meeting. So I want to talk a little bit about that. L10 meetings is what they're called inside of EOS, and the reason they're called L10 meetings is because we've all been in meetings that are super unproductive. An L10 means it's just a level 10 meeting. What we're trying to do is get to a level 10 meeting. And so the way you get to a level 10 meeting is at the end of this, when you conclude it, you grade the meeting on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst. How do you grade the meeting? And everybody, you go around the room and you say, okay, what do you grade the meeting? They might, share a little thing they thought about the meeting or whatever, and you grade it. But anyways, you segue into the meeting. Typically, this is just a transfer in type of scenario. Hey, I'm going to share a piece of good news, personal or professional. Literally, you only want it to last 5 minutes for the entire group. Then you go into scorecard data. You review scorecard against the goal. So if the goal, again, I shared with you earlier on in this video, is 5,040 units on bucket line 1 for Ultra Soap in the operations department. If the goal was 5,040 and we only got to 2,000, I might ask some questions as to what went wrong. If the goal was 5,040 and we hit 8,000, I might ask some questions like, dang, that was a great week. What did we experience and why did we have such an increase, right? So you go through the scorecard again. We're not spending a lot of time. Typically, out of negative numbers or out of numbers that are in the red, you didn't hit goal will become an issue. So you would literally click on the scorecard. You would click the little 3 buttons at the top, make it an issue that you guys would discuss during the IDS portion, the number 6 on the left-hand toolbar here portion of the meeting. The next is rock review. In rock review, the only few things that you're talking about is, are you on pace, off pace, or is it completed? Are you on pace, are you off pace, or is it completed? Rocks will also have milestones. So say I need to get a project done and I got to do 5 things within that project to achieve the rock. Well, I might have 5 milestones, and each milestone has a due date. So if I'm trying to achieve it by July or June 30th, I might have a milestone at May 1st, May 15th, June 1st, June 15th, and then again, June 30th would be the completion of that rock. Customer and employee headlines. This is a part where you literally just post any announcements for the team here. Just use the create button up top. You can create a lot of things here. I'll get back to that here in just a second. But right here in this thing, you can either create headline here or you can create it from here. And I'll talk about that in a moment. Headlines are typically customer and employee headlines. Hey, I want to give a shout out to this employee because they did an awesome job and they shared one of our core values of integrity and they were doing the right thing, and or they were maximizing, or they had a lot of fortitude in this example or in this situation or experience because things weren't going right and they just showed a lot of grit, and so I just wanted to say thank you to that employee. Or a customer headline might be, hey, had a great conversation with a new customer. They're thinking about doing business with us here in the future. Again, we're not spending a lot of time on that, 5 minutes typically. To-do list. This is where you're reviewing everything that was due the week before. In a perfect world, we would show up to this meeting and get to number 5 here, the to-do list, and all these things would be green check marked. I actually got the to-do done. I don't need anything to report on it. It's done, letting the rest of my team know. If it's not done, there's 2 things you need to do. 1, it becomes an issue again, or 2, you just need to change the due date. Maybe you couldn't get to it. Maybe you don't have all the right things to do the actual task. again, which if you don't have all the right things, it probably needs to become an issue again, so you guys can discuss that. Again, we're only spending 5 minutes. Okay, so remember, I'm going to just recap this. A scorecard, if it's behind pace, needs that scorecard or that metric needs to become an issue. Why was it behind pace? Is there something that we need line of sight to within the business to where we need to discuss it and try to solve it so that we can hit the target the following week or month or quarter or year, right? Rock review, if you're off pace, typically becomes an issue. Why are you off pace? Is it simply a timing thing? Is it because you don't have the right resources to do the job or fulfill the need to fulfill the rock? And then customer and employee headlines typically won't do anything with becoming an issue unless it's negative. And then to-do list. If something's not done on this to-do list, you can literally click on it and say, okay, hey, I didn't get this done. I might need to create an issue about it, okay? If you create an issue about it from here, I'm just gonna do that, right? It still stays in your to-do, right? It still stays in your to-do, but now it becomes part of the issue as well. So I'm just gonna delete this. I can click on the right hand ellipse thing and delete it. It still stays in my to-do. IDS. IDS is 60 minutes of this meeting. This is a part where you get to voice your concerns with the issues that are in front of you as it relates to your roles and responsibilities within the organization. The idea is out of issues is to create to-dos that are assigned to people with a due date. So let me say that again. The idea of IDS, identify, discuss, and solve, that's the acronym IDS, identify, discuss, solve, is to identify the issue first. That's what I've done here by just giving it a title name. Then we discuss the issue as a group or as a department. And then out of that discussion becomes to-dos or rocks, right? And it's assigned to an individual or individuals with a to-do date on that. And then at the next meeting, you'll typically have that discussion in whatever section of whatever section of the L10 meeting it falls. After you get through that, you would literally go to conclude. So it's a recap of the to-dos. Hey, Josh, you know that you need to confirm co-packer bombs by May 10th. Hey, Josh, you know that your communication process, you need to include email 90 and Teams. You have the information to do so because you wrote a quick description about it, right? You kind of go through these. Is everybody clear? Kind of ask the questions. Are you clear on what you need to do? If you need to change the owner of it, you can literally click on it. Again, go up to your little logo here and you can change the owner or add more owners to it. And that's that part. Now, the next part is you rate the meeting. Okay, hey, Josh Coleman, what are you going to rate it? I'm going to rate it a 7. Sierra, what are you going to rate it? I'm going to rate it an 8. You're going to rate it a 5. You're going to rate it a 10. You're going to rate it whatever, 5, right? And then you finish it, and it sends a recap meeting. I'm going to toggle that off so not everybody gets it. And then archive all completed headlines, to-dos, and issues for the executive team. Yes, you want to archive them because you can go back inside the issues or the to-dos or the rocks, and at the top in this black bar up here, you can toggle on the archive and you'll be able to see it. Now in this process, you might want to take some notes. So if you click on this thing over here, it says show notes or hide notes. If you show notes, you can literally take some notes. So I'm going to take notes for this meeting. And then I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes under that headline, and maybe I wanted to bullet point those. Make sense? So you can either click your down arrow there, or you can always hide notes or whatever, right? You also have the functionality of viewing tools. So inside 90, there's just a lot of information, but I'm not going to bore you with that today. So then after that, all I would do is literally click finish it. I would say finish, and it would be archived down here. You can see your average rating for the meeting, and the goal is to get to a 10, okay? The other thing I want to discuss with you is if you're a part of a team, your team leader should be having a L10 meeting once every week. The rules of the L10 meeting are you start on time, you finish on time, and it's typically 90 minutes in length. If you just watch the left-hand side of my toolbar when I took you through that meeting example, you'll notice that the 5-minute blocks plus the 60-minute IDS adds up to 90 minutes, right? If you finish early, that's okay. The goal is to never finish late, respect people's calendars and time. The next section is headlines. We discussed that. You can add headlines, customer employee headlines. You can assign the headline, do whatever you need to do there. The VTO. So the VTO is the Vision Traction Organizer. It's the acronym for VTO. The VTO is the acronym for Vision Traction Organizer. And the idea here is that you share core values, your core focus, your 10-year target, your go-to-market strategy, all that stuff. This is baked out for Ultra Soap today. It is not baked out for Liquid Soap. It will be coming very soon. I'm recording this video on the 25th of April, 2024. So if you're seeing this video, hopefully it'll be evergreen and stand the test of time. You may or may not see that in that section. The accountability chart is just that. If you've read Traction, you'll understand the way the business operates. You have a visionary at the top, you have an integrator below the visionary, and then you have your departments under that integrator. If you have any questions about that, again, this will be baked out for everybody inside Liquid Soap and Ultra Soap in due time. One-on-ones, performance reviews are necessary within the business. My goal is to be able to integrate performance reviews every 90 days. And this is where you would have that one-on-one. So I could literally just come to create a conversation, and then my name might be, I'm gonna pick on Doug for a second. So Doug would go in here. I put a description in here. This is the 90-day Q1 2024 review. And then time period, it's for Q1 of this year, right? And then select a due date. So the due date for this quarterly conversation is the 26th. Participants, and then I'm gonna add a managee. So I would click Doug Glasscock right here, but he's not in this seat because I don't have him baked out on the accountability chart properly. And then you would just create a conversation. More to come on that over time. Processes, again, if you've read Traction, you know that process is a component to the whole Traction model. Not going to spend a lot of time on that. I do encourage you to use the toolbox here. So if you have questions, you can literally click here, and master those things within your toolbox. I encourage you to watch some of the emails and videos that I send to you over time so that you can master all the tools within the EOS platform. And that's pretty much it. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I encourage you to start with the My90 dashboard, because this is personal to you. You are not going to assign things right. You're going to forget to assign the right team. You're going to forget to put notes in, and that's okay. But the goal is for you to use the platform as it's identified in the SOP, the standard operating procedure, as it pertains to 90. Hope this helps. Look forward to answering any questions you might have, and feel free to reach out. Thank you.